Eventually, people start to notice something different about you. Not louder, not flashier, just ... deeper. Like you carry something they can't quite name. It's not success in the traditional sense. It's something richer. A kind of peace that doesn't need to be explained. They may ask what changed, and maybe you'll try to answer. But deep down, you know it wasn't one thing. It was 1,000 quiet moments, 1,000 small choices. It was the day you stopped abandoning yourself. That's when everything started to shift. The world will offer shortcuts, easier paths, quicker wins. But you'll see through them, not because you're above them, but because you've outgrown the need to chase approval. You no longer confuse noise for meaning. And that clarity is priceless. You'll meet people who are still trapped in their own minds, who don't know yet that the door is open. Some will resent your freedom. Others will be drawn to it. You can't save them, but you can live in a way that shows them what's possible. There will still be days of doubt, moments of weakness, times when the old voice returns. That's okay. Growth isn't about perfection. It's about returning to truth, returning to presence, returning to who you really are. Again and again, that process is holy. Because in a world that thrives on confusion, returning to yourself is an act of faith. It's a declaration that says, I will no longer betray myself to be accepted. I will no longer abandon my soul for comfort. I will live awake, no matter the cost. You'll begin to trust that even the hard seasons serve a purpose. That not getting what you wanted might have been protection. That the delay wasn't punishment, it was preparation. That some doors had to close so better ones could open. This kind of trust doesn't come easy. It's earned through tears, through waiting, through falling and rising. But once you have it, the fear of uncertainty starts to fade, because you realize you don't need all the answers. You just need to keep walking. You'll remember moments when you almost gave up, and you'll smile. Not because they were easy, but because they shaped you. Every shadow taught you something light never could. And now you carry both, light and shadow, wound and wisdom, softness and strength. This is what freedom looks like. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of truth, even in the middle of it. Somewhere deep inside, long before the world told you who you were supposed to be, there was a spark, a whisper, a glimpse of something greater. But over time, that spark was buried beneath layers of expectations, fears, and quiet resignations. What remains now are the walls built not with bricks, but with thoughts. Most people live their entire lives within these invisible prisons. They wake up, go to work, follow routines, and wonder quietly, is this all there is? They don't see the bars, but they feel them. The hesitation before speaking up, the fear of failure before even trying, the belief that they don't deserve more. These are not accidents. They are echoes of limitations planted long ago. We tell ourselves stories that sound like truth, but are soaked in doubt. I'm not smart enough. It's too late for me. People like me don't succeed. These thoughts aren't born from reality. They're born from repetition. Repetition from others, from culture, from past wounds. And eventually, we mistake them for facts. But what if none of it was real? What if you've been living in a cage with the door wide open? We grow up believing that our limits are fixed, that talent, intelligence, even our capacity for joy are predetermined. But that's a lie so many swallow without question. A lie that shapes relationships, careers, dreams. The truth is far more liberating and terrifying. Because if the cage isn't locked, then escape is possible, but responsibility becomes unavoidable. The comfort of limitation is seductive. When we say, I can't, we avoid trying. We avoid risking. We avoid failing. But in doing so, we Also avoid becoming, because transformation doesn't come wrapped in safety. It comes through confrontation. You must face the parts of yourself you've tried to forget. And often, we don't even realize we've been conditioned by parents who did their best but passed on fear, by systems that reward obedience and punish exploration, by friends who mirrored our doubts back to us. Without knowing it, we internalize a script. And unless we challenge that script, we live it out like actors who forgot it's only a role. Have you ever paused long enough to ask, who am I beneath the noise? Who would I be without the fear? Without the need to prove something? Without the story that says I'm not enough? Let's pause for a moment. Take a breath. If you're still here, something inside you recognizes this truth. Maybe you've felt the weight of unseen chains. Maybe you've whispered to yourself late at night, there has to be more. If that voice still exists, then so does the spark dot. Thank you for staying with me until now. It means you're not here by accident. And I promise you, the best of this journey is still ahead. The unraveling of your false limits, the reawakening of your spirit, the return of your courage. It's coming. But first, you must understand this. The mind is both your prison and your key dot. It will try to protect you. It will say, don't go there. It will flood you with memories, with doubts, with rational fears. That's its job. But your job is different. Your job is to choose, to decide what voice you will obey. The one that limits, or the one that liberatess? In that choice lies your future. Sometimes freedom doesn't look like a breakthrough. Sometimes it looks like a quiet morning where you say no to something that used to control you. It looks like standing up for yourself, even if your voice shakes. It looks like finally allowing yourself to rest without guilt. Freedom is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers dot, and then a strange thing happens. The more you trust that inner voice, the more the world begins to shift. Not because it changed, but because you did. What used to scare you no longer holds the same weight. What once seemed impossible now feels worth trying. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. But this new strength doesn't come without scars. You'll look back and see the moments that nearly broke you, the ones you thought you wouldn't survive. And you'll realize they didn't break you, they built you. Every tear, every loss, every dark night was part of the shaping. There is power in pain, not in the suffering itself, but in what you choose to do with it. Pain can become wisdom, empathy, depth. It carves out space inside you that wasn't there before. Space that allows you to hold more truth, more courage, more grace. Still, some days will feel like setbacks. Old patterns will return. Old fears will knock again. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're still healing. Growth is not a straight line. It spirals. It dips and rises. And the more you accept that, the gentler you become with yourself. You learn to forgive yourself for staying too long in places you had outgrown. You forgive the version of you that didn't know better. And in that forgiveness, you find peace, not because the past changes, but because your relationship with it does. There's a moment when everything starts to click. Not all at once, but in flashes. You say something you used to be afraid to say. You set a boundary you once ignored. You try something you never thought you could. And afterward, you don't just feel proud, you feel aligned. Like you're finally living from the inside out. That alignment is sacred. It's when your actions match your truth. When you stop performing and start existing. And people notice. Some will be inspired. Others will be uncomfortable. But you won't need their approval anymore. You'll have something better self-respect. And with that, a new vision begins to form. Not a fantasy, but a future. A life that reflects who you really are, not who you are told to be. It might be quieter than you imagined, or bolder, but it will be yours. Built not on fear, but on choice. That's the turning point, when you stop asking for permission to live and start doing it. The journey forward begins with honesty, not with the world, but with yourself. It takes courage to admit that the version of life you've been living might be too small for the person you're meant to become. That your dreams didn't die, they were silenced. And that the fear that holds you back wears the disguise of logic. You tell yourself it's too risky, too late, too uncertain. But beneath that noise, there's something else. Desire. A pull toward something greater. And desire doesn't lie. It speaks the language of your soul. It doesn't care about age, background, or past mistakes. It cares about truth. And your truth is restless. Many people confuse safety with peace. But they are not the same. Safety avoids change. Peace embraces it. Safety builds fences. Peace plants roots in possibility. And you will never find peace while hiding behind walls built from fear. The only way to step into something greater is to step out of what no longer fits. But the moment you try, the storm begins. Doubt comes in waves. People question you. Old patterns fight back. The mind resists the unknown. This is where most turn around. Not because they're weak, but because they were never taught how to push through. They mistake resistance for a sign to stop, when in truth, it's a sign to begin. Transformation never feels safe. It feels like breaking, like losing control, like chaos. But it's only the crumbling of who you were, so something new can rise. You are not falling apart. You are unfolding. And yet, the cost is real. You might lose people who were never meant to follow you into the next chapter. You might be misunderstood. You might walk alone for a while. But solitude isn't punishment. It's sacred. It's where the noise fades and the voice inside gets louder. The world will always try to tell you who you are. But it's only in silence that you discover who you've always been. And when you hear that voice, the one you buried beneath years of compromise, you must protect it, nurture it, let it grow stronger. Because that voice is the beginning of everything. You'll be tempted to doubt again, to shrink back into familiar patterns. But every time you choose differently, even in the smallest way, you chip away at the old prison. You reclaim territory in your own soul. It's not a one-time event. It's a daily rebellion. And it's worth it, because every wall you tear down becomes a door. And on the other side of that door is a version of you that's been waiting. Not perfect, not fearless, but free. And isn't that what you've been searching for all along? It begins to feel natural, this new way of living. Not easy, but true. And truth is a strange way of simplifying things. You start letting go, not just of people or places, but of roles, expectations, and old definitions of success that never really belong to you. The world doesn't always celebrate this kind of freedom. It prefers the predictable. It fears those who no longer play by the rules. But you weren't born to fit in. You were born to wake up. And now that you're awake, you can never go back to sleep. That awareness changes everything. You see differently. Not just others, but yourself. You no longer rush to fill the silence. You stop seeking distractions. You begin to value presence over performance. And in that stillness, you discover how little you truly need to feel whole. There's something powerful about not needing to prove anything, about knowing your worth without an audience. That quiet confidence becomes your anchor. It steadies you when others question your path. It reminds you that your validation doesn't live outside of you anymore. And then comes the test. A new opportunity, a new challenge, something that would have terrified the old version of you. But now you face it with clarity. Not because you're fearless, but because you've made peace with the fear. It doesn't control you anymore. Fear still shows up. It always will, but it's no longer the driver. No, it rides in the back seat. You hear it, but you don't. Obey it. And in that shift, you reclaim your power. You begin to lead yourself, not with pressure, but with purpose. Purpose doesn't scream. It guides. It whispers reminders when you feel lost. It pulls you forward when everything else says, stop. It's not about what you do, it's about why you do it. And once you find it, even the hard days feel meaningful. You start to notice moments. Small things. A sunrise. A kind word. A breath of fresh air. They don't fix everything, but they remind you you're alive. And being alive, truly alive, is no small thing. It's a miracle. One that demands your full attention. So you begin to live slower, speak softer, love deeper. You no longer chase things that don't matter. You realize the race was never real, and the finish line you were running toward was never yours to begin with. Now, you walk, steady, grounded, awake, and that is where the real life begins.